I watched the full hour of Black Men in America on MSNBC. And I said, how in the hell did this get done? Because it was very, it was very black. It was very black. How did it get done? What? I was like,
It was it was very black, and thank you for watching, and thank you for noticing that it was very black. It was intentionally black. Both Tremaine and I had a very similar idea. We did not know each other. My co-host Tremaine Lee and I did not know each other, but we were both black men cut from a similar cloth. And I think that we're both men who sit in various spaces around community and talk to people and knew that there was a need for the voice of Black men to be heard in a way that was authentic. And in terms of the cable news space, that isn't always very well represented. Since the departure of Don Lemon, we haven't really seen that very often. I forget the brother's name over at Fox News. They
did you
have
say
him.
Don Lemon? You said Don Lemon?
I'm
Okay.
I'm literally just giving
Yeah.
names. Listen,
Okay. All right.
that's a that. But I'm glad you brought that up. There's Victor Blackwell at CNN.
Yes, Victor Blackwell.
There's Victor Blackwell at CNN, and then I think there's another brother who's been at Fox News for a while. But before we even get to
Charles. Yeah, I'm looking.
yes,
His name is
Charles, I can't
Charles
think
too.
his name
Charles
is Charles
something.
as well.
Hmm.
But and that's not even counting
Jonathan Capehart.
Jonathan Capehart and then Al Sharpton.
Right.
I still think that if you look at all of that, if you think at all of that, right, there's still a space where there's a certain voice for Black men that's just not being heard or represented. And I think when you said, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but when you said Don Lemon, the way that you said Don Lemon, I think that that was part of what you were alluding to in terms of, yes, that's a Black man. Does he speak in ways that you feel like you could trust him as a messenger on behalf of our community? I don't necessarily know that a lot of people would feel that way. And so I think that for whatever reasons, so I think that Tremaine and I had this idea. We had separately talked to Rashida Jones about it. And Rashida Jones is the president of MSNBC. And we had not met. It was almost like, when they have auditions for a boy band and the two people don't know each other. And Rashida was like, literally one day, she was like, do you know Tremaine? And Tremaine was like, no, I'm familiar with him, but I don't know him. And she went to Tremaine and was like, do you know Charles? And he was like, no, I'm not familiar, And she put us on email and was like, yo, y'all go out, have dinner, and come back to me. So we were like, what? And we did. And we both sat down and we fleshed out this idea that was born out of both of us collaborating and sharing our ideas that were similar. And we came back to her, and lo and behold, we ended up with an amazing special that I'm very proud of.
Kudos. When you said Rashida last time, it's like there was a lot of commentary about her, and I'm going to pass over that because, again, the goal is to be seen. Like, you could easily have built your own platform. You and Tremaine could have got together, put it out on YouTube. You have your own podcast. He has his own platform. Y'all could do that. But to have it in a space, because, again, this is our house. It's like we're on the outside begging to get in. I ain't begging to get in. Move out here. Matter of fact, I'm cutting a door right here, and I'm building a wing onto your, that's bigger than yours. Like I was happy to see that, and I was, the one thing I was saying to you, it was like barbershop, which I know was a little vignette with, I think Tremaine was getting his hair cut and exchanging with the barber, which I thought was nice. Then we end up in the pool hall. And then we're on the basketball court. Then you're in the smoking cigars, and then you're with the cognac. I was like, okay. I felt it was a little stereotypical in terms of like Black men do more than play basketball, pool, get their hair cut, and drink and smoke. Like, that was how I took it. But that was just one. It was not even criticism. I was like, okay, we're gonna meet people where they are. But the camaraderie and the way in which y'all, even the brother, was it the Jeezy?
Jerron K. Smith. Oh, Jeezy or Jerron?
Jeezy and Jerron. So Jerron was at the pool table with Ben Crump and Al.
No, that was Benny the Butcher. Yeah, Benny the Butcher.
So it's Benny the Butcher. I needed more Benny the Butcher in my life. I needed more time with him. And I felt like y'all crammed everything in the kitchen sink in this 1 hour, as if I don't know when we're going to get another chance, but we're going to talk to everybody. Michael Steele is in it. I said, oh my goodness, you packed in so much in 1 hour that I was like, we could have just spent 1 hour with Benny the Butcher.
Yeah, so I'm really glad you brought a lot of that up. And let me just give you a quick note about the locations. Um, I receive everything you said about the whole thing being, about the note, those notes around some of it seeming cliche. I think that there's an important distinction between cliche and inauthentic. I totally understand what you're saying about that, which is why we didn't actually shoot a whole lot in the barbershop. But we can't deny that that's a gathering place for Black men. You go to any
Yes.
cigar lounge in any urban center or where Black people are, and it's room full of Black men. Like, we there. Here's another thing I want to point out. Every single venue that we used, other than the leader's office on Capitol Hill, was Black owned. Every single one. When I say this was Black, it was blackity black. That was one thing that was critically important to me and Tremaine, that we supported Black businesses and we tried to highlight Black businesses with that. Another thing that I think is really important, there's a little bit of noise, and you talked about this. You talked about this, the camaraderie. If you watch it subtly, everybody we greeted, when you saw us greet, we all greeted each other with love. There were hugs, and there's a level of like subtle intimacy that America as a whole doesn't always know or understand that Black men have with one another, regardless of whether we know each other or whether we're just meeting for the first time. And we felt like details like that were authentic, but very important for us because they matter. I spent different parts of the special laughing. All of these teeth were on camera, and I think that those subtle things are not images of Black men that people always get a chance to see, and it's important. An hour was not long enough. An hour was not long enough for any of the things, because in our initial conversation, we really envisioned each of those conversations being its own thing, its own sort of episode, its own sort of like mini special. And this was ideally a proof of concept in order to get on the board and get a bit of real
Okay.
estate and say, hey, we can do this. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And then the second ask is going to be, now let's do a deeper dive on education so we can talk about achievement gap,
Yes.
you know what I'm
Yes.
saying, opportunities in different spaces, different suspension, different disciplinary issues and how they're disproportionately affecting our boys. Let's do a separate conversation so we can dig into healthcare and we can talk about the lower mortality rates in terms of our men, gun violence as a public health crisis in urban America, and all these. Let's do a separate conversation so we can get into economics, whether you're an entrepreneur, a federal employee, or a farmer who struggled with respect to getting government contracts and being sort of disenfranchised around your business, and how the working class conversation also is oftentimes exclusive or excludes Black men or Black people from those discussions around organized labor and all of the above. We want to do the deeper dive so we can really do these conversations the type of justice that they deserve, but we had to get on the board first. And that was
Okay.
what we
And
did
that was
last night.
I was like, there's so much potential here.
Mm-hmm.
866-801-8255. I also wanted to know, who is your audience? Who were
Mm,
you trying to reach with this?
fantastic question.
Of
I think
course.
that for last night, the audience was the electorate, and particularly I think last night in particular, because it was titled, the title of yesterday's episode was The Road to 2024. So
Mm-hmm.
what we were trying to do as best as we could, which is why, we weren't able to do the deep dives, is we were trying to give as close to a 30,000 foot overview of the landscape as much as we could for the people who are crafting messaging, for the people who are talking about voting. So if you're someone who's a political strategist or you're a candidate and you're thinking about policy measures, conversations, approach, what is it that you want to say to certain audiences to motivate them to get out to vote for you? You should probably watch this special. If you're advising someone who's in that space, you should probably watch this special. If you're someone who's thinking politically about whether you should engage or what you want to engage around, you should probably watch the special. It's going to be up on Peacock. Well, it's up on Peacock as of today, and it'll be there. And
Okay.
so that's the audience. Really, like the audience was for yesterday, and for this one in particular, people who are politically engaged and or sort of looking in the window, kind of like, I'm hearing a lot of conversation. Is this a discussion that has anything to do with me? Do I have a place in this discussion?
Man, you need to turn off your Apple emoji things because they got control every time you put your thumb up. I hate that about Apple. We're gonna talk more about that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you gotta physically go in and disable it. I hate that they have so much control over our lives. Charles Coleman Jr. is here. What did you learn about 2024 and what we should be concerned about that did not make the broadcast Black Men in America last night?
I think that the emphasis that a lot of us are putting on this notion of Black men defecting to the Republican Party is more myth than it is reality. And I think that it's important that we underscore those facts. It's a conversation because of how tight the margins are. But the idea that it's just like in mass that we're flocking to Donald Trump or the Republican Party, that's not true. That is not true. And it's not factually supported. If anything, there's a concern about staying home, being disaffected, or going third party. Mm-hmm. Those things are problems, though, because what we learned statistically was if 10% of Black men vote third party or stay home, the election is over. So the concern is not necessarily going all the way to the right or going Trump. The concern is these people might not come out, or if they come out, they may not go Trump, but they may go third party. That was a very interesting conversation because there's so much discussion that's not really factually based about, it's all y'all Black men, y'all out here going for Trump. No, we really not. We really not. So getting context and facts around that was probably one of the most interesting things that I learned because I sit with Black men each and every day. So I really wasn't surprised at some of the conservative positions. I really wasn't surprised at some of the disaffected positions. I really wasn't surprised at some of the positions that were sort of left-leaning. What I don't sit with every day are statistic geeks who can give me the information from a polling standpoint and break stuff down and put that into context. I don't sit with those guys every day. So getting that information for me was very informative.
Yeah, no, that was revelatory. And I think that might actually come to fruition. We're talking with Charles Coleman Jr. and Black Men in America that aired on CNN will be on Peacock. You guys can check it out. As we were talking about representation, I grew up in an era where Bernard Shaw was first on CNN, and I did not see him as a Black man on CNN, but just somebody that was super dope that I trusted. And that should be the standard. Do you know what I'm saying? Even in this game that we play with race, if you can find the people. There's some amazing people out there.